welcome to another Moment in Time with Taylor. Not a very happy time right now as President Trump just launched 59 missiles to an airfield in Syria. And I'll share with you the news update from NBC News. I'm sorry, let me just get Egg Drop going so that I don't have to pay attention to comments right now, but I can. If I miss any, you did tell me that. You did tell me that. So thank you. Everybody follow TH Comes South Carolina because he told me something that's very important. And I thought that, I was just reading a book that seems so relevant to this that I just had to jump on here and do a quick scope about it. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I don't feel like I'm talking loud enough. Hey, Mindy. Hey, Martin. Hey, everybody. Talking about how the American government just launched 59 missiles at I almost said Cuba. I don't know why I have Cuba on the brain for like 3 days now, but on Syria. Sound is good. Thank you, Jay Bradley. So let me share what was on NBC about 30 minutes ago. Good morning. Oh, it's midnight here. So it says the United States launched dozens, which was 59 Tomahawk missiles, of cruise missiles Thursday night at a Syrian airfield in response to what it believes was Syria's use of banned chemical weapons that killed at least 100 people, the U.S. military said. So the information's from the U.S. military, so who's that going to be biased towards, the U.S. or Syria or someone else? Yes, zero luck. That is exactly what this scope is about. That is exactly what this scope is about. So it says that it killed at least 100 people. So keep in mind 100 people in the grand scheme of the world and what World War III would bring to the world and how many countries and how many people could lose their lives over this alleged death of 100 people at the hands of a government. So I was reading this book. I just finished reading this book today. And there's a very, very interesting story in here that I think is perfectly related to what we're talking about right now. So this book is called Constitutional Chaos. It's by Judge Andrew Napolitano. We're talking about some interesting things here. So this is about five or six pages long. I'm going to read this to you pretty quickly. I'm not going to be reading comments, so I apologize what I'm missing. I can't even keep up with all of this. So, aliens. Yes. So let's talk about this very interesting story, which is very reminiscent of what is being used to justify these attacks now. I already did my salad, Alex. It was my last day. Okay, yes, Mindy, thank you. She ordered her agents to inject poisonous gas into a building after using armored tanks to raid and destroy the building. When the building caught on fire, her agents shot and killed people who tried to save their own lives by fleeing the flames. She refused to allow the fire department to rescue those trapped inside. In the end, 86 innocent men, women, children, and babies died from the cyanide poisoning, the bullets, and the tanks. Most were reduced to ash. Given the female pronoun, readers should be able to guess that the person responsible for this massacre was not Osama bin Laden or Timothy McVeigh. No, the perpetrator was the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States, Attorney General Janet Reno, other outrages by whom we covered in this book in Chapter 2. And we get into more. She was also involved in Elian Gonzalez's kidnap as well. The Attorney General used the U.S. military to engage in warfare, to murder scores of innocent American civilians, and then she orchestrated an elaborate cover-up so that the American people could never hear the truth. Janet Reno, with the blood of 86 innocent people on her hands, should not only have been fired from her job, but also should have been indicted for nearly 90 counts of murder. Yet, because Janet Reno was, quote, the government, she managed to walk away blameless from this massacre. David Koresh and his followers lived in a small religious community at Mount Carmel, a ranch complex in a rural area near Waco, Texas. Decades ago, this apocalyptic group called the Branch Davidians split from the Seventh-day Adventist Church and established their settlement in Waco. Men, women, and children lived in a large communal house that was situated on 77 acres of flat prairie land. In early 1993, the newly inaugurated Clinton administration was facing the possibility that Congress might scale back the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, BATF, a law enforcement agency devoted to enforcing, among other things, federal gun laws. The Clinton administration, opposing any effort to reduce the size of the government, big surprise, decided to portray the Branch Davidians as a cult and have the BATF declare war on the group. The government hyped up media interviews with former and disgruntled members of the group, not exactly the most credible sources, who accused the Davidians of being polygamists and child abusers. But this wasn't enough. Thank you for blocking on my behalf. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for backing me up, you guys, while I read this. The Clinton administration concocted an illegal weapons case in order to convince a federal judge to sign off on a warrant to search the Mount Carmel complex. The government's case, at best, was that the Davidians had failed to comply with taxes on machine guns. The government alleged that a package of grenade casings had been shipped to the complex and that the Davidians were converting semi-automatic weapons into automatic weapons without a license. Both of these allegations were later determined to be patently false. The grenade casing shipment turned out to be fake collectible items, and the Davidians had a lawful contract with a licensed gun dealer to assemble automatic rifles from semi-automatic rifles. In order to enforce this machine gun tax, the government considered two methods for serving the search warrant: raid and siege. Yes, they were supposed to be limited in power. The government claimed that a, quote, dynamic raid was necessary to prevent the Davidians from destroying evidence of the automatic rifle conversions. The BATF had received training from the U.S. Army Special Forces and practiced large-scale raids in preparation for a February 28, 1993 raid of Mount Carmel. Operation Trojan Horse began that morning, with federal agents and 15 members of the U.S. military approaching the complex while disguised as ranchers hauling cattle trailers. 3 unmarked black U.S. Army helicopters hovered over the complex and even fired shots at the compound. When David Koresh answered the door to investigate the situation, the federal agents opened fire on the building, and the Davidians defended themselves. Good job, Davidians. Except for their gunshots causing the deaths of 5 Davidians, including 1 child, the government retreated because its raid was proving, quote, unsuccessful. 4 BATF agents who entered into the building through the roof to throw grenades blindly into the complex died as a result of the Davidians trying to defend themselves. In 1994, 4 Davidians were tried for conspiracy to murder these agents and were acquitted by a jury. When you can get a case in front of a jury, a lot of times the jury uses a normal, rational mind. Not always, but oftentimes. The biggest card the government tries to play is state secrets, national security threats, so that the cases and the evidence can't make it to trial, so that you can't hear about things like this that happened. I know it's taking a while to get through this, but thanks for sticking with me through this. Reacting to the deaths of the 4 federal agents, President Clinton declared war on the Davidians by ordering a, quote, quasi-military siege. During a standoff that lasted 51 days, the FBI, the Texas National Guard, and the Army Reserves encircled the building. After negotiations, Koresh agreed to surrender. Let me say that again. Koresh agreed to surrender, but the FBI bailed out of the agreement and refused to comply with its end of the bargain. The FBI of America proceeded to engage in a psychological warfare campaign, illegally shutting off the building's electricity and blockading all means of electronic communication. Agents installed loudspeakers to broadcast all day and night high decibel noises of birds squawking, sirens, rabbits being slaughtered, rock music, and Tibetan monk chants. I'm sorry, but what the F? What the F? Then, tired of eating pizza for 7 weeks in front of Mount Carmel, the government was ready to wipe out the Davidians once and for all. An FBI spokesman declared, "We are going to show them that we control the compound and they are impotent." Is the government interested in achieving justice or showing its power? On April 19, 1993, Janet Reno approved a 568-page final assault plan to be used against the Davidians. Power, yes. Armored Bradley fighting vehicles busted the exterior walls of the building so that the FBI could inject flammable gas grenades throughout the building. Chemical weapons on its own citizens. 85 of them, including babies and children. The federal agents fired bullets upon the individuals who tried to flee the complex. Wasn't the whole purpose of the FBI presence to get the Davidians to come out? And then once they came out, they shot them. Back up. Back up. Thank you, Mindy. What am I reading? It's called Constitutional Chaos: What Happens When the Government Breaks Its Own Laws by Judge Andrew Napolitano. Yes, there it is if you want to screenshot it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so they're shooting them. Shortly thereafter, the entire building was enveloped by an enormous fireball. It is unclear how the fire began, but a commonly accepted proposition is that a lantern was ignited due to the government unsafely injecting the flammable gas into the building on a day when the wind speed exceeded 30 miles per hour. As if the wind speed being less than 30 miles an hour would have justified doing any of this, regardless of wind speed. I thought that sentence was kind of irrelevant, but hey. Some evidence also suggests that U.S. military special operations detonated 55 gallons of petroleum jet fuel inside the compound. The FBI refused to allow the local fire departments near the complex, thereby eliminating any chance that those 86 innocent men, women, children, and babies could have survived. The use of the Bradley tanks marked the first time since the Civil War that the federal government used tanks on Americans. Janet Reno's investigation developed a preposterous claim that Koresh set the building ablaze as a suicidal act to prevent the government from capturing him. While not in magnitude, certainly in substance, this theory ranks alongside the denials of the Holocaust. Autopsy photographs reveal that many of the deaths were uniquely attributed to cyanide poisoning, which results when CS gas, which the U.S. military injected into the compound, is burned. Additionally, the women and children who were hiding in an underground crawl space had their skulls crushed when the Bradley tanks emerged into the building. It is likely that many of the 86 individuals had died before the building went ablaze, and that the fire merely allowed the government to conceal much of the evidence implicating itself in the massacre. We're almost done. What compound area? It's right near Waco, Texas. You can watch the replay. It's David Koresh, Mount Carmel. This is a pretty famous story. It was in the media a lot. Yeah, replay the scope. Or ask Happy Rebel. Reno, the child abuse advocate from Miami, Florida, which was in the book earlier, trumped up the need for an imminent assault on Mount Carmel by alleging that Koresh was sexually molesting children inside the complex. Reno herself eventually determined those allegations were false, yet went ahead with the plan. In so doing, she allowed 24 innocent children and babies to die of cyanide poisoning and skull fractures from military tanks. For 6 years, the Reno Justice Department covered up the fact that incendiary poisonous gas rounds were fired into the building. For 6 years. My name is Taylor. Nice to meet you. Because such evidence would destroy the credibility of the government's assertion that Koresh intentionally set the building ablaze, it is no surprise that Reno would want to hide evidence that would implicate her in the murder of 86 innocent civilians. Representative Dan Burton, chairman of the House Committee on Government Reform, stated that Janet Reno was directly responsible for concealing this evidence. I'll read this really fast. Burton further explained how Reno directed Texas law enforcement agencies and the Texas National Guard to remain mum and keep the truth under lock and key. While Reno disclosed information about the FBI's use of pyrotechnic devices against the Davidians, she miraculously continues to deny that the government was involved in the fire. Despite her blatant lies, cover-ups, and misrepresentations, Janet Reno was never investigated. She politically weaseled her way out of the situation in 1999 by appointing a special prosecutor, yet limiting the scope of his investigation. She told the prosecutor that his second in command would be Reno ally Edward Dowd, who on the previous day, Reno had cleared of a criminal probe stemming from charges for using federal money for a political campaign. How impartial do you think he was? The investigators ducked all of the questions about Reno and the FBI's blunders. However, they managed to find a good guy to serve as the government scapegoat, an assistant U.S. attorney who blew the whistle on the FBI's destruction of evidence when attempting to prosecute some of the surviving Davidians. There was never any investigation of Janet Reno's use of the U.S. military against American civilians. Again, U.S. military killed 85 innocent American civilians, and nobody bombed us. Nobody sent 60 missiles to come take care of our problems. And the people in the government that killed all the people, even after it came out, still didn't face any prosecution, and they actually got promotions. I might have done a spoiler alert. I'm reading Constitutional Chaos by Andrew Napolitano. Okay, so her doing so is a clear violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, I don't know if I said that right, which prohibits the president and his subordinates from authorizing the military to engage in civilian law enforcement unless authorized by Congress. The American people deserve an explanation of why Janet Reno authorized the use of Delta forces, special operations, National Guard, and Army helicopters in order to enforce a citizen's obligation to pay taxes on a machine gun. Rather than being investigated, charged, and fired, federal agents involved in the massacre were rewarded with promotions. Why was there never any federal investigation as to the involvement of Janet Reno and even Bill Clinton in the massacre? We'll never ultimately know whether Janet Reno is guilty of murdering those 86 innocent civilians, but there is certainly sufficient evidence to warrant an indictment against her and to have a jury hear the evidence against her. The day after the massacre, this is the last sentence, President Clinton verbosely announced, quote, "I was frankly surprised," would be a mild word, to say that anyone that would suggest that the Attorney General should resign because some religious fanatics murdered themselves. So, long story short, hopefully you get my point, which is that we're saying, oh, it's okay that we're sending 60 missiles and we're starting potentially World War III, potentially war with Russia, because Syria and Russia are kind of in association, because they killed 100 of their own citizens. And the way that Donald Trump, and I voted for Donald Trump, but the way that he said, they killed babies, as if the U.S. government has never killed a baby, using chemical warfare, using the exact same methods, virtually, that they're using to justify warfare here. So I'm calling BS on it. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I think Hillary Clinton would have started the war also, which is why I voted for Trump, but you really think it's the same? Yeah, tell me how you think it's different. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Correct. I'm BS? Okay. No war has started? Okay. Yes, we are getting political here. Russia started preparing. Oh yeah, Russia's been preparing for an attack. Actually, if you watch the Russian media, they talk a lot about how to prepare for a war with America if it was to happen, especially when Hillary Clinton was running for president. Thank you. Thoughts on Saudi immigrant workers? I don't have thoughts about legal immigrants. We have immigration policies, so you voted for Bernie, okay? Trump warned the Syrians and they didn't take the warning. So you think that it's justified? You think it's justifiable for a country halfway across the globe to send 59 bombs to one airfield because they allegedly might have maybe sent some chemicals from that place that killed 100 of their citizens? You think that's justified? Oh, I'm totally not even paying attention. Please follow back. We create war. We create money. I know. We just print out money as we need it, right? To be in war every day. Oh, interesting. What do I think of your thought? I'm reading it. I see it. I think it's interesting, and I think it's true. I do. We are lied to so much with propaganda. Exactly, and that's the thing. That's what I mean, is like we don't always get the whole story. It's so easy to say, oh, Saddam Hussein killed babies, so let's go to war with the entire country and kill all the citizens in his country. We are all lies. There's probably truth to that, too. I missed that. You said we're not going to war. It's not allegedly. Okay. Well, 42 seconds before I started this broadcast, it was allegedly. The act of war. We didn't kill babies at Waco. 24 children and babies were killed out of the 85 people at Mount Carmel. Media who has owned media in USA. If they were gassing ISIS, more power to them, right? No, wrong. My cousin died on the street. Uh-oh, rant scope. They have much more info than you think. I'm happy to hear the information. Why are they hiding everything from their own citizens? World War III, what did I miss? I live under a rock. It just happened. It just happened tonight. We sent 59 missiles to Syria. They don't show that. They control what we see. Yep, they do. My husband's laughing at some of these comments. We're living in a matrix world with crazy elites. So should the Russians attack us in Waco? Absolutely not. No one should attack anyone with violence. You can have comments. You can say if you disagree with someone. You can't tell if I'm joking? I'm not.
This title says, Swamp drains Trump, turns him into establishment stooge.
Yeah. I saw Coco Mermaid did a post a little while ago that said Trump has conformed with like a broken heart. You're writing a book. Follow me? Okay. You don't have any broadcasts and you have 3 followers. I'm not going to follow you. Trump literally played his supporters. Probably. The next world war will wipe out the world. Potentially. I'm not intentionally avoiding your questions. See how many questions are coming in? Trump got turned into Incredible Hulk. And if I see someone that I'm following, I read their comment first. So violence is never the answer to anything. Except violence. So like self-defense. But we were not involved in Syria's civilians being killed. That wasn't our self-defense. You will remember me. Okay. Get a better table for your TV. Okay, do you want to buy me one?
That table
Obscurity is good.
Flack,
Thoughts on Middle East not accepting Syrian refugees? I think that is a complete crock. I think that the Syrian refugees have a significantly, Stefan Molyneux says, a 12 times more successful chance of what's the word that I'm looking for here? What's the word? When you integrate. They would integrate much better into Saudi Arabia than they would here or in Europe. Is Trump the Antichrist or is the Pope going to be the Antichrist? I don't believe in an Antichrist. Reintegrate. Yes, thank you. Lit. It's lit. I will appreciate your belief. It won't hurt you just to follow me. Russia is looking for an excuse to attack America. That's what the American media would say. Obama threw the red line. Trump enforced it. Are Syrian refugees causing problems in Western Europe? Syrian refugees? I'm not sure the stats. I know that the Turkish population is becoming bigger and bigger, and that I think the foreign minister of Turkey, maybe 2 weeks ago, was encouraging all of the citizens to have more children and was saying to Europe, if you don't let in more refugees, we're going to just start sending them in. We have, 15,000 refugees a month that we're not sending you, that we'll start basically using them as like a bad punishment, which doesn't really go along with the belief and the concept of them actually contributing to the society and being a useful part of the workforce. If they're using them as like they're leveraging them against somebody else as if they're a weapon or a tool of negativity. I would say that's not a great sign. And just the fact that the mentality is so different. In the first world, it's like, don't have kids, overpopulation is a problem, don't have any kids. So then now there's all these people with no kids, and now, who's going to pay for all the debt that we have in America? Oh, we'll bring immigrants over, we'll bring refugees over because they have tons of kids and they don't speak the language, they're not even literate in their own language. It's going to be very, very hard for them to succeed in a country that's so wildly different. How well would you do if I took you and put you into Syria or Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or even India? I mean, even Japan or China. I mean, how would you do? How would you integrate? How similar to your life would it be not knowing the language where you went? If I took you, what does that mean? Thank you, Mindy. Thank you. Love you, girl. We're all mind-controlled with TV programming and cell phones and wars. That's true. It's true. Yeah, I'm biased to my own beliefs for sure. I'd die of sarin gas. Probably most people would. I'm not really familiar with what that is, but it's a weapon, and I assume it's meant to kill people. Japan is a cool place to live. They're very open now. That's fine. I just mean I don't speak Japanese, so it would be pretty hard to get, be massively successful in a country where I don't speak. And I'm not going to go to Japan and be like, you guys need to speak English when I'm around. Trump was very shaky while he gave his speech. Okay. They speak English. Yeah, I know. I love that everyone around the world speaks English. But yeah, I would like to speak more languages. Project Bluebeam, I'm not familiar with that. I learn fast? Okay, thank you, I think. I can never tell if someone's being sarcastic or not. Hey, hi Miami now. How are you? Ooh, I like your gold badge. Oops, I missed you. There you are. Following you. I'm trying to get my gold badge. Do I speak Canadian? Yes, I think I do, eh? Most people do not speak English. That's the moral to this scope. Yes, yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, it's all good. And I'm sorry that I'm missing, I'm sure, tons of comments. Press those hearts. Thank you. Yeah, I voted for Trump. It's all about honesty, right? Okay. I learn languages fast when needed. Oh, yeah. Okay, now I know what you mean. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure that's probably true. Thank you for asking people to send hearts. Wish you would leave your country behind, go to the Middle East. Is that what you said? Thank you. I don't know. 10 seconds of nonstop hearts. Oh, thank you. Trump? Why? Because I was pretty sure Clinton was going to bring us to war with Russia, but apparently they both were. What has Trump done to personally help you in the last 70 days? Oh, I don't know. I'd have to look into it. Why did I vote for him? I just answered that question. It's about time we do something. Press your hearts, your fingers. Obama was weak. She's a voice to promote more jobs. I heard he created jobs, but that didn't affect me personally. Trump bombed people who killed their own people with that gas bomb. But we have done the exact same things to our own people and not even persecuted the members of our government who did that. So how can we so hypocritically then go to another government and say, hey, you did this horrible thing to your people, you can't do that, but we can? How can the government break its own laws? That is the beginnings of the end. And if that's my opinion. I can't say that? Why? We never used sarin gas. No, but we killed 85 people using, cyanide grenades that blew up, and some evidence suggests that they also had 55 gallons of gasoline, kerosene? I can't remember the details, but that wasn't us. Who was it then? We didn't? Who did it then? You guys are funny. The government is a hoax. Obama made the USA look like fools on the world stage. She cannot answer all questions at once without superhuman skills. Thank you, Martin. We did do it. She has only 2 policies: tax cuts for rich and coal dumping in lakes. Where was this? This was at Mount Carmel in 1993, I believe. How did yoga turn into military strategy? Because keeping it fresh, keeping it fresh. Baba Booey, okay, I've asked a dozen times, even when there were no comments. That would have been a good time to ask. Government is creating domestic terrorists. YouTube targeted individual. Promote this. We create war, we create money. You were just a baby. See, yeah, I was a baby. The moon landing was a hoax. Just promote this for me. Okay, can you please stop repeating yourself? We get it. We create war, we create money. Okay, I'm going to block you if you say it again because you've said it like at least 10 times already. Thank you. Trump has created something that will drag us into Libya. How do you know about Waco besides the one book? We're living in simulating world with all matrix. Take thee. It was reported in the media, but do you have some information that you would like to share? I mean, no, I haven't read more of it. Like I said, I just finished reading this book today, and it seemed so similar to the story today that I jumped right on and started sharing. But if you can tell me what information I'm missing, I would love to hear it. Oh, Waco is a city in Texas, Martin. Russian bots are in my stream. Yeah, Reno screwed up. Thank you. Thank you. Can't we all just get along? I think we can. Kumbaya to all of you. Thanks for coming in. Wasn't it a cult? That's what they want you to think. Sandy Hook didn't even happen. It was all made up. Woo! Now we're really getting into it. I know a lot of people who think Sandy Hook was a conspiracy. I don't know much about that. Yes, David Koresh. Yes. Yes, let's all get along, Luke. Congress would not issue military action. So they did it anyway. Same thing with Elian Gonzalez, Janet Reno. She kidnapped him at gunpoint out of his uncle's house. I mean, it wasn't her personally, but she authorized. She ordered the men to do it. Even though she had already requested it to be done legally and was denied, she had it done anyway in the darkness of night. And there was a photographer that actually got that picture of the people pointing the gun at Elian. He was 6 years old. 6 years old, he survived floating in the ocean on a tube for 2 full days before being rescued and finally making it to America, which was his mother's only dream. And she was like, nah. Yes. Yep. And like, let's say entrapment, when the government sells drugs to someone or buys drugs from someone and then convicts that person for buying or selling the drugs, but the government doesn't get any, they can commit the crime to get someone else to commit a crime. Even like with creating meth, I was talking about this last night. In order to create meth, you have to get this very difficult, that's interesting. They have to get this very difficult, in 1990, was it? Now I might just be thinking 1993. Was it 93? I think it was. 94, when the World Trade Center was bombed. Entrapment, yes. So, like with meth labs. So the government is pretty much the only one that can get this certain paralibin 2 or something that you need to make meth. And they will go around and they'll try to get people to like buy it off of them and make meth. And then they'll convict them. And it's like they probably wouldn't have even been able to do any of this without you providing the supplies. But then they just say, oh, well, someone else would have come along eventually, so we're preventing future hypothetical possible crime. It's BS, you guys. It's BS. Tell your friends. And I really agreed with something that someone just said, but I forget what it was, so I'm sorry, but I love you all. Every aspect of government is dirty. I am an anarchist, so yes. Drugs are being... Oh, yeah, the war on drugs. Yes, I agree that it is bad. Hey, Sassy. A plane hitting the World Trade Center before it happened. Very interesting. Radio neural monitoring. Okay. Sounds very interesting. I'm starting to skip here, so yes. And it's dumb to even try. Next election will be a record vote. Everyone is going to participate. That was a good question. That was a question, not a statement. Question? I think I might have missed it. But I'm going to go because it's already way after midnight and I need to sleep because I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. But I appreciate you all for being here. Spread the word. Do your own broadcast. Share your opinions. And let's talk tomorrow morning at 8:30 during my yoga scope. I don't mind talking politics while we do yoga. Good night to you too. I hope everyone has a good night. This has been another Moment in Time with Taylor. Bye. Yes, I forget what it was. Radio neural monitoring. Okay, got it, Lifted Lion. Bye.